Welcome to the I Know project. This is a series of modules about enterprise and entrepreneurship, and it's part of the Italia-Malta European-funded project, although all of the material has been written here at the Centre for Entrepreneurship and Business Incubation at the University of Malta. This first module looks at the introductory concepts of enterprise and entrepreneurship. The programme itself is split into 8 components, the first 4 of which relate to germination, starting up a business, the idea of that. The next 2 relate to incubation, which you're getting started, and then the last 2 about acceleration, making progress moving forward. And the first module that we're going to go through now relates to some basic concepts, myths and definitions relating to enterprise and entrepreneurship. Here are some key definitions. First of all, an enterprise is a business entity that provides products and or services to customers in order to generate a profit. And remember, there are only 2 things that you can sell, either a product or a service. Smart companies, of course, tend to sell both. Now, a commercial enterprise is one in which profits are distributed amongst owners following a period of trading, perhaps 1 year. A social enterprise is where profits or surplus are not divided amongst owners, but used to deliver more or additional products and services to its beneficiaries. Please bear in mind there is no such thing as a not-for-profit. Every business has to make a surplus, otherwise it runs out of cash and has to stop. Our progress pathway that we'll be following in this program begins with germination, early assessment and development of an innovative idea, moves to incubation, the process of launching the enterprise, with the focus, of course, on sustainability, acceleration, the process of reducing time between value-adding milestones, culmination or exit, the end of the progress pathway within the support infrastructure. Here is what this looks like in our graphic. And the enterprise support infrastructure is a basic form. The key vertical is the central one, the progress pathway, although there are other verticals which you can see relating to business finance, professional advisors, education and training, sector clusters, and internal influence and external promotion. This represents the external enterprise support infrastructure, otherwise known as the enterprise environment. For the Germinator sequence, it's important to recognize that our model follows the problem, solution, benefits sequence. And you can see those on the horizontal blue diamonds, going from left to right, problem, solution to benefits. So the problem that's identified by the enterprise is solved by a product or a service, the solution, and that has to provide benefits to customers. And the vertical there, the enterprise provides the solution to the customers. Now, this gives rise to 4 very key questions. Number 1, can the enterprise deliver this solution? Number 2, do customers want it? Number 3, do customers perceive value? And number 4, can the enterprise make a profit? Finally, a very important question, if all of the answers are yes, then do the founders want to do it? The enterprise anatomy, which we'll go through in a later module in this program, is at first sight quite complicated, but really is pretty straightforward when one thinks about it as having 2 components, the white component and the yellow component. The white component is the heart or the value proposition, and that relates to the value proposition in the center, followed by surrounding that 4 forecasts relating to the product forecast, the market, the enterprise forecast and the cash flow forecast, and then the strategies and controls that support all of that. The yellow components arise after the launch of the business. Now, this incubatrix model has been developed over many years and been used with undergraduates and postgraduates, together with spin-outs from universities, and also with enterprises from the wider community, more than 5,000 now. It's been used in competitive grant application systems, business advisor and investor training, and in advising government. This is a very simple graphic to illustrate some of the countries where it's been used so far, because the 5,000 businesses that we've worked with come from, now it's over 32 countries, not all shown on this map, and they have themselves raised over 100 million euros in business finance. So to kick off then, what do we mean by innovation? Well, it's a creative process. It's the development of ideas and technologies that leads to a new product or service, or the development of ideas and technologies that can lead to a better way of delivering an existing product or service. Entrepreneurship has lots of different definitions. I have to say, many of them misleading. We would say that it's arguably the marriage of enterprise and innovation to create a business that sells new or better products and services at a profit. But the words actually come from the French, as I'm sure you will know. Entrepreneur is a contractor, literally an in-between taker, whereas an enterprise is a firm. Perhaps the better word to use from the French, entraîner, is a verb to lead, to train, and to involve. That may be more what we're talking about here. But entrepreneur is the common word that people use around the world. And many people have different definitions, of which the most common include a person who starts a business, somebody skilled at enterprise, an inventor, a risk taker, hard-working and determined. But these are not either necessarily complete or correct, and certainly we don't think entrepreneurs are risk takers, as we'll see in a moment. Skilled at enterprise then, this can come from formal training, can be purely intuitive, but certainly entrepreneurs have a willingness to learn, they actively seek information and advice, they're quick learners and learn from experience, but they always ensure that processes work. They're hard-working, and I wouldn't pretend otherwise, not the same thing as working long hours. Remember that activity is not the same thing as progress. They always work hard when they're working and really waste time. And typically they'll do what's needed to do to get the job done, and so may not necessarily work in a traditional 9-to-5 pattern. They're definitely self-confident, but they're willing to learn, and early self-confidence may arise from having tackled something challenging, or either succeeded or simply survived. Confidence, of course, often increases with experience, and negative lessons can be very useful since they help avoid future problems. But primarily, it's fair to say that good entrepreneurs never stop learning. So this business of risk then, we think that entrepreneurs are risk readers, neither risk takers or risk averse, but they assess risk carefully and avoid the avoidable, often by creative means. Aggressive risk-taking isn't entrepreneurship, it's called gambling. Clear understanding of the implications of failure are certainly what entrepreneurs recognize. They don't have their head in the sand. Entrepreneurs take decisions and they solve problems, and they're willing to do that when needed. Decisions taken today may be changed tomorrow if new information comes up that modifies the risk analysis profile. They often solve problems with creative solutions, and they're not tied to standard textbook solutions. And they're able to say no. Sometimes that means to be surgical rather than medical. In other words, to cut something out rather than just to simply try and improve it. We certainly think that entrepreneurs understand people and they communicate well. Good entrepreneurs understand the need to delegate and hence the need for a good team. They understand that company means a group of people working together and that communication is paramount. In fact, poor communication leads to errors and wasted time at best and business failure at worst. We follow something called logical leadership, and we recommend that you do too, since there's no place in entrepreneurship for a bully or a dictator. Good entrepreneurs don't surround themselves with people who say yes all of the time. People follow a good entrepreneur's leadership because it makes sense to do so. Logical leadership. Now, some entrepreneurs we describe as preferring to build ships rather than sailing them, because they enjoy turning good ideas into great businesses. And actually, the skills needed to build a ship are not the same as those needed to sail a ship. And once the business model has proven seaworthy, the entrepreneur may well appoint a successor and move on to the next challenge. Many entrepreneurs are involved with many different businesses all at the same time. What are the myths about entrepreneurship then? Firstly, entrepreneurship is something a person is born with. That's just plain wrong. Entrepreneurship is simply a form of enterprise, a flavour if you like. It can be taught and learned. And entrepreneurship can be applied within an existing organisation, in which case it is known as intrapreneurship. Differences between sectors. Entrepreneurship is different across sectors and regions. That's wrong too, and our research has shown that. 32 countries in multiple sectors. Entrepreneurship is a way of thinking about enterprise, of applying good business discipline, and of removing or reducing risk where possible. There may be different rules and regulations across sectors, e.g. a lead time for an app is much shorter than the 12-year lead time for a new drug, but the approach can be the same. There may be different styles and attitudes across the regions, but the fundamentals remain the same. Finally, remember that speed to succeed is always better than fast to fail. That's the end of the first presentation. In the lecture format, we'd move to a question and answer session now. Thank you for listening.